The light from our central sun is shining very bright. It is creative and full of love. It will illuminate those dark deeds that were hatched out between men in black suits in cigar smoke-filled boardrooms all those years ago. The intent of those who chose microwave frequencies for telecommunication purposes is multi-layered and full of deceit. One of its potential aims is to slow down our spiritual awakening because they are afraid of losing control. Another seems to be to control the global population by inducing sickness and disease. A further aim is to mass mind control the global population via its use of microwave-enabled consumer toys. We will not see it coming until it's here, or we awaken. It's perfectly normal for individuals within society to communicate with each other, yet the microwave and other frequencies chosen are very dangerous to our biology. This video will explain how and why these potentially highly damaging biological frequencies were introduced into our lives, and their effects on our biology. As a global population, we are at saturation point from exposure to microwave-enabled devices, yet we're being persuaded to ever more increase our exposure by buying more smartphones, smart meters, smart TVs, wireless headsets, keyboards and baby monitors, and more. Within the next few years, 5G will roll out devices linked to the Internet of Things. The Internet of Things is the internetworking of physical devices, vehicles, buildings, transportation, cities, and more, embedded with electronics, software, sensors, actuators, and network connectivity, enabling these objects to exchange data. If this is allowed to happen, our global population will be within the crosshairs of localized, very efficient, and powerful antennas. These new antennas will actually be antenna systems with many antennas joined together in various configurations that will result in the emission of very powerful high-end microwave radiation. The new 5G devices will use frequencies between 50 GHz and 150 GHz. No safety data related to exposure from these frequencies has been submitted for authorization of use. Research carried out in the 1940s shows the absolute biological madness in introducing high-power microwave radiation into our living rooms and workspaces. So what do we know about microwave radiation and exposures? In the old days of radar development back in the 1940s, electro-hypersensitivity, EHS, was well known in Europe, America, and the USSR as microwave sickness. Microwave sickness affected a small percentage of individuals working in the development of radar. It was observed and documented that the incidence of personnel engaged in weapons design, radar work, suffered much higher incidences and rates of cancers. These workers also suffered all sorts of adverse biological effects, as well as enduring sleep pattern disruption and more. In the early days of radar development, cancers and other biological effects were defined as non-thermal effects, which are different from thermal effects. Thermal effects relate to the simple heating of the skin tissue when irradiated with microwave radiation. Nothing else is looked at nor looked for. This is one of the main reasons why the safety standards setting bodies have set a maximum permissible level of exposure many thousands of times higher than what many countries would actually allow and use. Industry regulators set levels based on skin heating effects only. It allows A. the telecom industry significant leeway in the amount of transmit powers that can be legally used, and B. allows the telecom industries to argue that because the day-to-day transmit powers of their transmitters are thousands of times lower than allowed, that it is not possible for the thermal effects to occur, and most significantly, C allows the regulators of these industries to draft legislation and give out advice to consumers solely based on thermal heating effects only. The reality is that health protection agencies can legitimately ignore or give no credence to any studies involving non-thermal or biological effects simply because they recognize thermal, that's heating, effects only. Members of health protection agencies, industry regulators, and significant political and telecoms movers and shakers seem to rotate around these various organizations at some stage in their working lives. Obviously, there appear to be many conflicts of interest, because the sheep and the fox should be separated from each other at all times. The media coverage of these affairs is obviously abysmal, and is conspicuous by its absence. Most people obtain their worldview on these types of issues from what they read in the papers and see on their TV screens. But if all we ever see is the must-have latest iPad, iPhone, etc., it's little wonder that most people are completely unaware of the real and significant dangers microwave radiation could have on them and family members. In the mid-1980s, the American military, a joint safety review involving units of the Air Force, Army and Navy, carried out a comprehensive review on the safety of microwave radiation on individuals involved in the use of radar. They cited many hundreds of studies from a vast literature trawl of scientific, medical and epidemiological studies related to both thermal and non-thermal effects of microwave radiation on our biology. And here is an excerpt from that article. It says, non-thermal responses can be less noticeable and are often more difficult to explain than thermal effects. These responses are related to the disturbances in the tissue not caused by heating. Electromagnetic fields can interact with the bioelectrical functions of the irradiated human tissue. Research conducted in the Soviet Union and Eastern Europe suggests that the human body may be more sensitive to non-thermal effects of these types of radiation. It is clear from a casual reading of this data that the modern-day telecoms industries and bodies charged with providing safety standards for microwave-enabled products decided to ignore the non-thermal or biological effects. Significantly, most Western governments and their militaries knew there was huge safety problems using these frequencies, yet they allowed a set of private organizations to define maximum levels of microwave exposure. These same organizations had no expertise in biological effects. This graph shows the maximum microwave exposure levels set by the ICNIRP, yet countries such as Austria and other European countries set their own maximum microwave exposure levels to the population, many thousands of times below that value. This suggests that some individual countries, particularly Austria and Liechtenstein, have little faith in the safety guidelines issued by the Safety Standards Organization called the ICNIRP. Another way at looking at the differences in setting maximum exposure levels between countries is to simply argue that there is no scientific nor medical consensus on what constitutes a safe level at which a maximum value of microwave exposure can be defined. In the United Kingdom, electro-hypersensitivity (EHS) is not defined as a recognizable disease. The Nordic countries, however, do recognize EHS as a disease, and their local councils provide EMF blocking remediation funds or relocation to a region low in microwave signals. We now live in a digital age that is seamlessly connected up via Wi-Fi, Bluetooth and other forms of microwave transmitters that have produced what we call electrosmog. This is a sea of microwave frequencies that has only recently been introduced into the general population. To put this into perspective, Our physical bodies have evolved within the presence of background microwave radiation that originated from space. Within just 20 years, however, we have exposed our physiological and biological bodies to microwave frequencies 1 trillion times higher than background level. That is to say, our bodies have not had sufficient time to evolve in response to these massive changes in exposure. To reiterate, any safety data related to microwave radiation exposure should be treated with caution because A. Non-thermal effects are missing from safety studies, and B. No one has any real idea on the timescales between exposure and cancer induction or other long-term effects of either weak or strong signal intensity microwave radiation on our biology. Everything within this so-called physical reality is, as Tesla noted, energy, frequency, and vibration. Our physical reality is an illusion conjured up vibrationally in order for us to experience everything and anything we desire from the perspective of its greater reality. Regrettably, the word illusion, though, does not do it justice. A change in frequency from any source, whether from electrosmog, poor air quality, tainted foods, etc., can negatively or positively impact on our state of being. If different frequencies determine different types of matter or form, or a certain type of conscious thinking, it's very plausible to argue that we can also knock off balance anyone or anything by exposing them to a different frequency or set of frequencies. Besides conducting electrical signals, i.e. nerve impulses, in order for the nervous system to function, our cells can be likened to miniature batteries and electrical generators that also create or generate electromagnetic frequencies. Any imbalance of ions or their transport across cell membranes, however, will result in a decrease in cell-to-cell communication and alteration in resonant frequency of all affected biological components. This may lead to a feeling of being unwell, off-color, or sick. Proper functioning of our central nervous system is very important, simply because we are bioelectrical beings. This is especially important to remember when we expose our biology to high-energy microwave radiation. Electro-hypersensitivities, for example, may be experienced as currents running down the arms and body or having a metallic taste in the mouth. These microwave currents may interfere with the central nervous system, leading to loss in cell-to-cell communication efficiency. An early pioneer in all things bioelectric was a medical doctor called Bob Becker. Becker was very much against what we now define as electrosmog, and he was first to coin the term electromagnetic pollution due to work he carried out on individuals exposed to ELFs from electrical power lines. He was also the first in carrying out multi-generational studies of mice exposed to electromagnetic ELF, that's extremely low frequency fields, from power lines. Becker was astonished at the pace of disease initiated in these mice. Becker was one of the very few medical doctors of his time to really understand the role of bioelectricity in the human body, and how disturbances such as induced electromagnetic fields adversely impact health. He worked at the low end of the electromagnetic spectrum, and his work in this area should have served as a warning to anyone with eyes to see that close proximity to even weak artificially induced EMF fields may have undesired consequences on our electrobiology. The same type of reasoning can be applied to exposure from microwave radiation, which is found at the opposite end of the electromagnetic spectrum. Our electrobiological signature frequencies can be adversely impacted from exposure to microwave radiation, which catapults the body electric outside its optimum range of working frequencies, potentially leading to ill health or disease. When we feel off color, it's usually due to one or more of our body organs being pulled off frequency or being forced to operate outside of its optimum vibrational range, of balanced body frequencies. Thus everything is frequency dependent. There is a place for everything, and everything must be in place. Microwave radiation and mass mind control. Mobile phone technology uses microwave frequencies as transmit signals between itself, the transmitter, and other receiving phone networks. It's the pulsed nature of the output or transmitted signal that is a deep cause of concern. A signal of about 8 Hz is used in a GSM, that's the Global System for Mobile Communication. This is an interesting frequency, once again, to use simply because it's very close to the Schumann frequency of 7.83 Hz, which lies within the bottom end of the alpha brainwave frequencies. In other words, our brainwave activity can be easily captured or resonated by artificial signals of the same or similar frequency. This is known as brainwave entrainment. This is because we evolved in an environment constantly transmitting a frequency of 7.83 Hz, and our state of being is very open to these bands of low-end frequencies. The Schumann constant has been described as the heartbeat of the planet. The vibrational or signal intensity of this frequency can be increased artificially using mobile phone transmissions of 8 Hz, which may adversely impact our state of being. 8 Hz is within the alpha brainwave range. When our brains are in this state, we are awake, but in a very relaxed, impressionable, and hypnotic state. The cell phone signals may be entraining our brainwave patterns into this alpha state. It's easy to see what happens around us on a daily basis when people become engrossed in their phones. It's like a scene from a zombie film sometimes. They become entrained on this piece of plastic and in doing so block out the rest of their reality. There is the sad story of the man who recently died walking off the edge of a cliff in southern England while using his cellular phone. Similar hypnotic alpha states also occur when we watch TV, cinema screens, or computers. The same types of mind control technologies are unleashed onto our trusting consciousnesses. In closing, microwave radiation is classified as non-ionizing radiation, yet research has found its exposure eventually leads to cancer-causing effects within our biology. There is no technical reason why telecom industries chose the microwave band portion of the spectrum as transmission frequencies. There is no technological reason why the telecom industries chose to amplitude modulate these microwave frequencies at the same or similar frequencies that mimic various brainwave states. There is no technological reason why the telecom industries decided to pulse these frequencies in the ways that they do. There is no technological reason why the telecom industries blatantly chose to ignore biological, non-thermal effects when setting up their safety standard protocols. There is no technological reason why analog technology was ditched in favor of digital. In the midst of all these technological changes, we have been sleepwalking, yet it's now time to wake up. In the cool light of day, it seems like smart devices and appliances and cell phone technology was perhaps designed as a means to irradiate the global population with microwave signals capable of causing us biological harm. The infrastructure of masts, antennas, and microwave-enabled consumer goods is within the consciousness of most technologically driven societies. Very few people question the safety of these devices. We collectively need to question the status quo of these devices before the next set of technological improvements, such as 5G, is introduced into our homes and our lives. This is a time of awakening in which we shine our laser-sharp light on all things within our consciousness. If we never forget that life is a grand illusion, or, more appropriately, an infinite set of possibilities in which to experience our God Self in all its expressions within this 3D theatre, there is nothing to fear, and we can make a start in righting the wrongs of the past 1,000 years. In terms of being manipulated by forces outside of yourself, actions to take are as follows. If we define all digitally enabled devices as being potential tools of enslavement and entrainment, we lessen the perils of electrosmog, and by not complying with the wishes of the elites, we can bring their plan of ages crashing to a halt. Limit your playtime on TVs, computers and smartphones. Switch off all Wi-Fi enabled devices when not in use, especially before you sleep. Throw out your Bluetooth devices and hardwire your consumer devices, headphones, mice and keyboards, including the connection between your computer and router. Ensure there are no electrical devices within 1 meter of your bed when you sleep. Seek the paradise and grounds of nature. Go for long walks. Feel the grass beneath your feet and revel in the freedom of you as you consciously go about your business. If we understand that we are infinite possibilities of expression, we can consciously choose what we want to experience, and life once again becomes a Garden of Eden. Abridged version from an article by Dr. Ellis Evans, PhD, an environmental scientist for much of his life, specializing in radiochemistry and atmospheric sciences. Please visit his website at emfguru.co.uk.